Memory, How It Works and How It Stays by Kiara Shelton. My summary. What is memory? What are the hippocampus and the cerebellum? What is long-term memory and short-term memory? Some versions of short-term memory. How is information stored? Ways to encode memories. Why do we forget? And what is interference? What is memory? Memory is the process of retrieving and storing information over time. The three main processes to saving information are encoding, storage, and retrieval. But you can still lose information by forgetting, not encoding properly, or your information can get mixed up. What are the hippocampus and the cerebellum? Though the hippocampus is not where the memories are stored in the brain, it is the save button for memories. The cerebellum is the part of the brain where the implicit memories are stored. Memories like how to ride a bike, run, walk, breathe, write, and read. The explicit memories that are personal events or information, is stored in the neocortex and the amygdala. The neocortex is located in the cerebral cortex, and the amygdala is where the emotions are centralized. What is long-term and short-term memory? Long-term memory has infinite space to store information. It can be split into two parts, explicit and implicit memories, as we had just talked about on the last slide. Memories get stored there if the memories are encoded properly. Though long-term memory can be altered, so they are not forever or accurate. Short-term memories are not infinite. They have a limited amount of space. Information can be stored in short-term memories for only 20 to 30 seconds. Working memory is like short-term memory, but it is more active remembrance until it's deleted. Like when you need to tell a person something, another has told you to tell them. Some versions of short-term memory. Iconic memory is when you remember, for about half a second, what you just saw, like flashing pictures of shapes, and you have to remember most of them. Iconic memory is when you remember, for also half a second, what you just heard, like if someone asked you what they just asked. How is information stored? Encoding is when you process your information so you can remember it properly. There are different ways of encoding, but the two main parts are active encoding and automatic encoding. Active encoding is when you actively try to remember something, like studying for a test. You actively encode all material so that you can pass. Automatic encoding is when your information is sent straight through the processing and then to long-term memory. Ways to actively encode. Chunking is a process where you group patterns in a sequence to encode into your long-term memory for easy recollection. Like if you want to remember the number sequence 456458, you can remember it by grouping it into groups, like 45, 64, 58. Making silly phrases to remember important information is another way you can encode information. Like in math, for your sine, cosine, and tangent, opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse, SOHCAHTOA. You could make a silly phrase like, some old horse caught a huge ton of apples. Remember the mnemonics of a word, which means to remember the meaning of a word and its sound. You can do that when you are studying for a vocab quiz. You can space out your time too to remember things rather than trying to encode information all at once like cramming. This is called the spacing effect. Why do we forget? Sometimes our memories aren't stored correctly, and memories can decay over time. People can also develop amnesia. Amnesia can be split into a few different ways. Global amnesia, which is where people forget everything about themselves, except for their explicit memories, like talking. Retroamnesia, where people forget all their old memories, but can remember and make new memories. And ulterior amnesia, where people forget and can't make new memories, but can remember old memories. What is memory? Chunking is a group of patterns to remember later. Cerebellum is a part of the brain where... I have said this before. Yes, a while ago. Sorry about that. What is memory interference? My last slide was an example of proactive interference, which is where your old memories conflict or get mixed up with your new memories. Like if you were trying to remember a chemistry formula, but all that was coming up was an algebra formula you learned a few years ago. Retroactive interference is when your new memories conflict with the old. Like if you went somewhere with someone, but you thought you had went with them a long time ago. Source amnesia is where you can't remember where you got the information from, but you can recall the information that was given to you, like retelling a story someone has told to you. Misinformation effect is where your long-term memories are altered because of false information that was given to you. Like when you wake up in the morning and think something happened that didn't happen because it was a dream that seemed very real. These are my resources that I use to gather my information. And thank you for watching. But can you remember